So, from today onwards, we are going to start Google Cloud Storage. So, for example, so if you get some kind of a data, whether it is a CSV file or a JSON file, or you have a data that is coming from an application in the form of a logs, and you wanted to store that logs over the Google Cloud platform, so that you can actually store it with the help of the Google Cloud Storage. And let us try to understand what is this Google Cloud Storage. Let me show you first. So I have entered into the console, and you can select the project. I'm just selecting a project GCP morning batch. Okay. And if you wanted to select the Google Cloud Storage, either you can go to the left navigation menu and click on this cloud storage, or you can search with the cloud storage. Okay. So this is what it is. And you can just see here, we have a nomenclature like a buckets, and we have here, we do not have any bucket so far, and you can able to create a bucket. So let us try to understand what is this bucket, what is this cloud storage and all. Okay. First thing is that cloud storage is one of the object storage service. What is this one? It is a object storage service. And if you wanted to store your object, or you can also say file storage service. Storage service. Okay. When I say object, you can object is nothing but a file. Okay. File of any format. Okay, so this is what. And next thing is that when I say object storage service, you are going to store the objects here, or a files of any format here. Okay, and it is a fully managed service. When I say a fully managed service, because when we are storing some kind of objects, we need to have some kind of a disk or space, some kind of a storage. But who will be taking care of this storage? Google Cloud Platform will take care of all the storage requirements and storage management. We don't need to worry about it. So that is the reason it is a fully managed service. When I say a fully managed service, no need to worry about infrastructure. Okay, all the infrastructure will be taken care by the cloud provider itself. Okay, so that is the meaning of fully managed service. The managing the infrastructure will be taken care by the cloud provider. So here in this one, we have a Google Cloud. Google Cloud Platform will take care of the resources. And one more thing is that, so what kind of a data we can able to store here? Okay, so what kind of a data we can able to store here? We can able to store any amount of data, guys. Sir, I have a data that is a CSV file. Can I able to store it here? Yes. Sir, I have a JSON file. Can I able to store it here? Yes. Can I able to store data in the form of a Parquet file, Avro file, whatever the data it is? Because cloud storage is a service for storing your data. Cloud storage is a service for storing your data. So what kind of a data we can able to store? Any type of data. And what about the amount? How much amount of the data we can able to store? Any amount of data and any number of files. Okay, so this is the capacity of the cloud storage. It can able to store any amount of data, any number of files, any type of a data also. Okay, so it is an object storage service, a fully managed one, a service for storing your data of any type, any amount, and any number of files. But how to create it or how to store it? How to store it? So if you wanted to store the data here, we need to create a bucket. Okay, we need to create a bucket. If I wanted to store some kind of a objects or a data, we need to create a bucket. Sir, what is meant by bucket? A bucket is nothing but a container to hold your objects. Okay, so what is object, sir? Object is nothing but a file of any format. Okay, so we need to create a bucket, sir. If I wanted to store something, we need to create a bucket. A bucket is nothing but a container to store your files, nothing but objects, right? So let us try to understand how to create a bucket. Once we create a bucket, that's it. Okay, once we create a bucket, that's it. We can able to just upload our files and store it there. Okay, so this is what is a cloud storage, sir. A cloud storage is a fully managed object storage service, a service for storing your data of any type, any amount of any number of files. And if I wanted to store some data over the cloud storage, what I have to do? I need to create a bucket. And if I wanted to create a bucket, let's go to Google Cloud Platform. So where I can see it, sir? So I am inside the cloud storage. I see here buckets. What is meant by bucket? A bucket is nothing but a container. And let me click on create. Okay, let me click on create. So I clicked on create option. Once I click on create option, you see here there are 5 things that we need to remember while we create a bucket. So 5 options. Sorry. We need to provide while creating a bucket 5 parameters are there. Okay, 5 parameters. First one is name of a bucket. You can see here the name of a bucket should be globally unique and permanent name. It should be globally unique, sir. So if I give some kind of a name, I do not have any name, any bucket, but if I give some random landing, it is not taking yet because I have not used this bucket. And if I give some demo, no, I can't. I can't provide this name also. That bucket name is also taken. And if I provide some landing, no. So we need to provide a globally unique. That means no one in the world so far used that name as a bucket name. Not just me, anyone, everyone. Okay, not just me, everyone so far not have used that as a bucket name. So we have to pick that particular name. So that one I am going to use source bucket. I'm gonna just say 9/4/2023. So if I give this name, you see here, do you see any error? No, because we have provided a globally unique name. This name so far no one has used already. So that's the reason I am using this now. Okay, so we need to pick a globally unique name. Okay, so create bucket. Let me come here. Using console. Okay, we are going to create a bucket using console. The very first parameter is name. It should be pick a globally unique name. Okay. Now, the second thing is that once I have provided a name, after that we have to choose the location where we wanted to store some data. So if there are 3 things here, location type, multi-region, dual region, and single region. Okay, so here we have to select the location. So we have 3 options. One is multi-region, dual region, single region. Okay, so let us try to understand what is meant by multi-region. Sir, multi-region is that if you create a bucket, okay, if you create a bucket and upload some files, the files will be replicated to the multiple regions. Okay, so if you create a bucket and if you upload some files over the bucket, and the files will be replicated to the multiple regions. So that's the reason. So replication is there. Replication among multiple regions. Multiple regions. Okay. So this is what happens. So when it is a replication is there in multiple regions, the data availability of the file will be very high. Availability is 99.999%. Okay, and the latency also very less, very minimal, I would say. Okay, so this is what happens. So when you go to the multi-region, the replication will be there between or among multiple regions, so that your file will be, even though one of the region is crashed, you will be able to get your file from the another region, because the replication is already there. As soon as you upload some file to the one of the bucket, and that will be replicated to the multiple regions. Okay, so that's what happens with the multi-regional. Okay, so the next thing is the cost is also very high, sir. Here, cost high comparatively, cost more. Just say cost replication among multiple regions. I just say high availability. Okay, instead of just availability, high availability I will just mention. Okay, cost is more. Next thing is dual region. The name itself, it is saying that dual region means the replication between two regions. Okay, the replication between two regions. Replication between two regions, the availability is comparatively less, because the replication is only between two regions. So that's the reason. The if two of the regions are failed, what will happen, sir? What will happen, sir, if the two of the regions are failed? Your data is lost. So the availability will be less here comparatively. It is, you can just say 99.95%. But if one of the region is crashed, you will be able to get your data from one more region, because the data is available in two regions. Okay, so that is what the advantage. So when you go for dual region, the replication will be there between two regions. So availability is higher, but comparatively lesser than the multi-region. Latency is less. Okay, comparatively, when it's compared with the multi-region and dual region, the latency will be high for the dual region. Okay, and cost also little bit less, cost less. Okay, this is highly cost, less cost, very less cost. So single region. When I say a single region, so you create a bucket and you select a location. Okay, so what do? You create a region. Sorry, you create a bucket and you select a region, and that is single region only. So no replication. The data will only be available in that single region only, and availability is comparatively less. High availability, less available. I would just say less available, and latency is also, latency will be there. Okay, less cost. Okay, so these are the features. So what is the advantage, sir? So at any cost, if you don't want it to lose your data, go for multi-region. If at any cost, if you don't want it to lose your data, go to the multi-region because it provides you the replication among multiple regions so that your file is all the time available. So again, while you are retrieving the data also, the latency is very minimal. Okay, but the cost is more. So comparatively, the cost is more for the multi-region and the availability is very high for the multi-region. But if you go to the single region, there is no replication at all. The availability is less. What will happen when you select a single region? If that single region is crashed, your data is lost. So you will be able to lose your data. Okay, so that's the reason, sir. If you, sir, I have a one file and which is very critical. I don't want it to lose this data. When you go for a single region, the data, sorry, you may the chances of losing your data is high because it is single region. The replication is no. So that's what the idea here. So whenever we are selecting a location, we must select according to our requirement. So for example, you see here, highest availability across largest area. Dual region, highest availability across two regions. Lowest latency with a single region. Okay, so when you select here, sir, when you select here, so US, Europe, Asia, the cost is here. You see, the storage cost is there, replication cost is also there. Okay, this is storage cost. This is replication cost. When I select a single region, and there is only storage cost because we do not have a replication cost. Okay, so for now I am selecting the multiple regions because I don't want to lose my data. So I have selected a multi-region. Okay, so this is how, according to your requirement, as soon as you select the location, you cannot change it later. First thing, sir, I have selected today multi-region and US I have selected. Tomorrow I don't want it to select US, sir, I wanted to make it as a Europe. No, that's not possible because location is a uneditable option. Location is a uneditable option. You cannot change it later. Okay, so once you provide your location and once you click on create bucket, you cannot change it later. Okay, so that is what. Now I have selected multi-region. Click on continue. Okay, so the next thing is that choose storage class for your data. Okay, choose storage class for your data. So the third option for us is that, sorry, something happened. Okay, yeah. So 3, storage class. What is meant by storage class? Such storage class is this one. So let me give you 4 files. Okay, file 1, file 2, file 3, file 4. Okay, this file I am accessing it frequently. Okay, and the next file is I'm accessing it once in a month. Once in a month. And this file I'm accessing it once in quarter. And this file I'm accessing it once in year. Okay, so these are the 3 things. Okay, I have 4 files, guys. So what I am trying to say is that all of these 4 files, the requirement is like this. We are going to access these 3 files. Okay, so these files separately. You can see here. The first file I'm accessing it frequently accessed file. This file is once in a month. This file once in a quarter. This file once in a year. Now tell me, if I put the same cost, would it be logically correct? If I put the same cost for all of these requirements, do you think the logic is correct? No, right? Because as per the requirement, I am accessing this file frequently. If I put the same cost for this one and this one, it wouldn't be correct, right? So that's the reason Google Cloud Platform come up with the classes, storage classes. So according to your requirement, you can select a storage class. So if you are accessing a file which is frequently, then you can go for the standard storage class. If you are accessing a file which is once in a month, file T, if you are wanted to access it once in a month, you can go for nearline. Once in a quarter, cold line. Once in a year, archive. Okay. So Google Cloud Platform comes up with the 4 storage classes according to your requirement. So I have a file which I wanted to access it every second, nothing but every second, every now and then, frequently. Then you go for standard storage class. Okay. And sir, I have a file which I am accessing it once in a year. Go for archive. So what is the benefit that I get, sir? What is the benefit that I get, sir? For the standard storage class, the storage cost is very high. Storage cost is high. For the archive, retrieval cost is high. Okay, so this is what is a agenda. So comparatively, you can see here, storage cost is high. That means retrieval cost is less. Retrieval cost is less. Here, storage cost is less. Okay, so this is what happens. Why it is? So when you are going for a frequently accessed data, the storage cost is very high because this file has to be available all the time. When it is a frequently accessed it, that means when you wanted to frequently access it, the file has to be available all the time. If the file has to be available all the time over the network, that means there is a lot of resources that the Google Cloud Platform is spending. So that's the reason you have to spend a few more amount of money. So that's the reason the storage cost is high. Anyway, the file is already available, the retrieval cost is very less. Likewise, when you go for a file which you are accessing it once in a year, the file need not to be available all the time because you are just accessing it once in a year. So we do not know once in a year, we do not know when you are going to access it. That means the file is not available all the time over the network. That means the storage cost is very less. But when you try to retrieve it, the file has to become online and the file has to be available over the network. So that's the reason retrieval cost is very high. Okay, the retrieval cost is very high. So this is what is the difference between the multiple different storage classes. You can compare like this, guys. So when you are moving from standard to the archive, the storage cost will reduce. When you move from archive to standard, the retrieval cost will less. Okay, so that is how it is. Okay, you can compare it like that, or I can draw a diagram for you to understand. So if you think that this is so this is what I call as a retrieval chart, retrieval cost. This is a retrieval chart, guys. So here it is a cost, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is, you can think of like your standard, nearline, cold line, and archive. So for the archive, the retrieval cost is very high because the file is not available all the time. So you have, once you try to access it, the file has to come over the network. So that's a reason to put all of those efforts, the retrieval cost is high. Okay, similarly, when you go for, this is cost, this is cost, and this is standard, nearline, cold line, and archive. And here again, you can see here, this is what I call as a storage cost. Okay, the storage cost will be keep on reduces from the standard to the archive, because the file has to be available all the time. Once if the file has to be available all the time, I have to put a lot of efforts. The Google Cloud Platform put a lot of efforts, like storage, in terms of storage, in terms of the networking. Okay, so that's a reason, in terms of the backups also. So that's the reason the standard storage cost is very high comparatively, and it will keep on reduces. Okay, so this is what is the storage classes, and the Google Cloud Platform come up with to provide you the benefit of the. So we have to be very smart while we are creating a bucket. So we must understand the requirement. So if your client has given you some file, or if your manager asked you to store some data over the Google Cloud Storage, ask him first, sir, is this a critical file? If you ask him the very first thing, if it is a critical file, you go for multi-region. Ask him the next thing, sir, are we going to access it frequently? Or are we going to access it once in a month? Are we going to access it once in a year? Or if you now have already known that, according to the those requirements only, we must create a bucket. So we should be smart while we are creating a bucket. Otherwise, unnecessarily, we may have to spend a lot more money. Okay, so now understand that the storage classes, we have a standard storage class, which we are accessing it frequently, nearline once in a month, cold line once in a quarter, archive once in a year. Okay, so I am selecting nearline. Okay, I am selecting nearline. Sir, what do you say about nearline? So can I able to change it later after some time, like standard? So anyway, the location is not an editable option, but at least the storage class is editable option. Yes. Storage class can be changed later. Okay. Storage class can be changed later. So you can able to change it from standard to nearline, nearline to cold line to archive according to your requirement. Because we do not know that, right? When the requirement changes. Okay. So this is what it is. So storage classes can be changed later. So for now, I am selecting a nearline. Perfect. The fourth thing is that very important thing. Okay, so far we have discussed about where to store the data, how to minimize the cost, or how to get the server, or how to provide a proper name. But we have not worried about access control to your files. Okay, access control to your files, access control, which is a very important thing. So you are storing some kind of a data over the network or over the Google Cloud storage, but who will be having access to that data? How to provide access to that data? How to restrict it? How to limit it? Okay, so you wanted to provide only the viewer access, or you wanted to only provide the editor access, owner access. How I can do that? So all of that can be done with help of this access control. So we have two options here. One is uniform. The next one is fine grained. Uniform. See, there will be a requirement, right? So there will be a requirement. So you have you are a team of 5 members. Sir, you are loading some kind of objects to your Google Cloud Storage bucket. And if you need access to all the members, okay? So if you need access to all the files to all the members, then you can go for uniform. Okay, then you can go for uniform. So you are going to provide the access at rate bucket level. When you provide access at rate bucket level, whatever the files inside the bucket, you will be having you are providing access to those people. Okay, think like this. Sir, I have a bucket and I have file 1, file 2, file 3. Okay, so I have some user 1. I wanted to provide access to all the files instead of providing, sir, for example, file 4, file 5, file 6 also there. Instead of providing access to this file, this file, this file, this file, this file, this file, I can just provide him the bucket level access. Okay, so I can just provide him. This is a bucket. Inside the bucket only we are having all the files. So I can provide him the bucket access. So that what will happen is that, so he will be having the access to all the files inside this bucket. Okay, so this is what is nothing but a uniform. Uniform is nothing but a access at rate bucket level. So uniformly, that person is having access to all the files inside the bucket. Uniformly, he will be having access to all the files inside a bucket. So that is nothing but a uniform access control. Okay, uniform access control is nothing but a access at rate bucket level. Okay, access at rate bucket level. Perfect. Okay, perfect. But in addition to this one, sir, this user 1 is fine. He needs access to the bucket. Perfect. But sir, I have a user 2. User 1 is achieved already, but as per my requirement, I have a user 2 who need access to only the F3. Okay, who needs access to the F3 only? That means he needs access to the individual object inside a bucket. We're talking about an individual access to a bucket, individual access to an object. When we talk about an individual access to the object, so that's where the fine-grained access control come into the picture. So the name itself it is saying, right? If you can say fine-grained access, nothing but a individual specific objects access, nothing but a access at rate object level. Access at rate object level. So when you wanted to provide access at rate object level, in addition to this one, sir, I'm not saying that. So when I say uniform, it is only bucket level. When I say a fine-grained, it is object level plus bucket level, both. Okay, bucket level plus object level, it is both. Okay, but when you are talking about a uniform, you only provide access at rate bucket level. So if you have all the users who needs access to all the files inside a bucket, you go for the uniform. But if your requirement is, something like zigzag or some random access required, some people needs an entire access bucket, entire access to the bucket, or some people needs access to only the individual files. In that case, you can actually go to the fine-grained. Because we can provide object level permission here, we can provide a bucket level permissions also here. So in a fine-grained, we can achieve both. That means I can provide a bucket level permission and individual object level permission also I can able to provide it. So that is what is a fine-grained. Okay. So let us go and see here. So what he's saying that in uniform. Ensure uniform access to all objects inside the bucket by using bucket level permissions, nothing but a IAM. We will see that. Ensure uniform access to all the objects inside a bucket by using the bucket level permissions. Uniform access to all the files inside a bucket. Fine-grained means specify access to individual objects by using the objective level permissions in addition to the bucket level permissions. Okay, in addition to the bucket level permissions. So that's what I'm saying here. So uniform means access providing at bucket level. That means all the files. Access to all the files. Entire bucket, I would say. Access to entire bucket only. You can't provide an individual access here. Can't provide individual access. But when you come to the fine-grained, you can provide access at bucket level plus access at object level also. Okay, that means entire bucket plus individual object access. Individual access also you can able to provide. So this is what is your okay. So this is what is your fine-grained access, guys. So when you go to the fine-grained, this is what happens. Okay, so fine-grained means access at bucket level plus access at object level. You can get object level permissions. You can provide bucket level permissions also here. So let us see that in once we create a bucket. Let us see that. Now I'm selecting a fine-grained. Okay, now I'm selecting a fine-grained. Click then continue. And final option is that object versioning and retention policy. Most commonly used is retention policy. Let me tell you about that. So what is meant by retention policy? Sir, you are creating a bucket. You are creating a bucket and you are loading some files, file 1, file 2, file 3. Okay, this is your bucket. You created your bucket and after that you will load your bucket. And once this file is uploaded, if you think that no one should modify, if you have a requirement of this file should not be modified or deleted for some amount of time, delete for some time. That time you can just say 2 hours. Okay. So no one should be able to modify it or delete it for 2 hours. In such scenario, you can put a retention policy. Okay, retention policy. What is meant by retention policy, sir? During the retention period, this is what we call as a retention period. During the retention period, no one will be able to modify it. No one will be able to delete it. Okay. So if you upload a file for next 2 hours, that means in the next retention period time, no one will be able to modify it or delete it. Okay. So that is what is a retention policy. Okay, so a retention policy is something that you put a retention period. Within the retention period, no one will be able to delete it or modify it. Okay, so that is what it is. And one more final option is that object versioning. So you created a bucket, you have a file 1, and what happens is that due to some reasons you have taken this file 1 for processing, and your processing is done, you wanted to store it here back again. And now tell me, do you want it to keep original file as well as modified file? This is M means modified. So if you wanted to copy, if you wanted to keep both of these files, you enable the object versioning. You enable the object versioning. Okay, when you enable the object versioning, you can able to keep your original file as well as modified file. If you don't enable the object versioning, the file one will be overwritten with the file one modified. Okay, the file one will be overwritten. Okay, this file modified file will be overwriting your file one. So that means you will be having only one file, only modified file will be available. So if you don't enable it, if you enable it, you will be having a object versioning. That means you will be having both versions of the file. Okay, so this is how I can come here. I can tell you object versioning, maximum concurrent object concurrent versions you can mention here, and after this time the file will be deleted. Or you can go for the retention policy and you can mention like 3 minutes, 180 seconds. That means you can mention in seconds, you can mention in days, months, years. So for now I'm selecting 3 minutes. 180 seconds means 3 minutes. So that means within the 3 minutes, if I create a bucket, after the bucket is created, once the file is uploaded, for the next 3 minutes, once the file is uploaded, I cannot be able to delete it or modify it. So let us see that. So I have provided the name of the bucket. Okay. So we have provided the name of the bucket. So we have two options here, guys. One is object versioning, and the second one is retention policy. Okay, you have understood what is this one. Let us see here. So now you see here object versioning and retention policy. Let us try creating a bucket. So we have selected all the options like naming the bucket, location, storage classes, how to control the access, how to protect your object data. Just click on create. And once you click on create, okay, the bucket is created. You see, you can go back and you see earlier we do not have anything, but you see here I have created a bucket with this name. And at what time it is created? This is the bucket and this is the metadata of the bucket. What is the location? What is the storage class? When it is last modified? What is the access control? What is the protection? 180 seconds. Life cycle rules? No. Encryption. By default, Google managed encryption will be there. Okay. Sir, I wanted to upload. So the very first step that is completed is that how to store it. So for storing the data, we need to create a bucket. Once you created a bucket, upload your objects. That's it. So that is what is our agenda. Okay. So we have, if I wanted to store it, I need to create a bucket. For creating a bucket, these are the things that we have learned. And after that, we need to upload it. Okay. Now I go inside my bucket. A bucket is nothing but a container to store your objects. And once you are here, if you first thing look at here configuration, this is your bucket metadata. This is your bucket metadata. You see here, you see a bucket here. This is a bucket metadata. And do we have any objects inside the bucket? No. This is your bucket metadata permissions. What is the access control we have selected? Fine grained access control we have selected. When I select a fine grained, I have got both object level permissions and entire bucket level permissions. Two permissions I have got. Okay, and protection. We have selected retention policy as my protection. So 180 seconds. And life cycle rules I will tell you. Now I do not have any objects. What I will do, I click on upload. I will try to upload anything, some files. Okay, let me upload this thing. It's a PySpark file. So it's a PySpark notebook I have uploaded here. You see it, guys. So if I try to delete it, I am trying to delete it. You see here, I clicked on select and you see upload files, upload folder, create folder. All of these options, download or delete. I click on delete. See sir, there's an error at the bottom. Could not be deleted. Click on it. Failed. The bucket deletion is failed. You see here. Read it out, guys. Due to the bucket retention policy, we cannot be able to delete it until sometime, until next 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, you come and here you see it, you can able to delete it. Okay, so that is what it is. So once you upload a file, you cannot be able to delete it if you have a retention policy. After retention policy, it's your time. Well, if you wanted to delete it or you don't wanted to delete it, it's your choice. Okay, and after that, I click on this thing. So this is my object metadata. I can download it, I can edit the metadata, I can edit the access and delete it. See here we have what, sir? Edit access. Let me click on it. And I have all of these permissions. Sir, I have a requirement. We have user 1. He needs access. Okay, so let me add his. So let me make it public, guys. I want you guys to access this file. Okay, I want all of you check it whether you have access or not. So I'm making this particular session one read data dot notebook. This notebook I'm making it public. All the users will be able to read it out. So public, all the users read it out. Reader access. Click on save. Okay, I'm going to provide you the link, guys. You see here I have a public URL. I'm going to provide the URL. Copy and paste it on your chart. Try checking it whether you have access. Try checking it if you have access. Sorry, guys. Try check it, guys. I pasted it in you in the respective charts. Try checking it whether you have access or not. Just download it. Download it and check it. You will be able to open the file because I made the bucket. I made that particular object as public. But tomorrow, what you will do, sir, in company, you come here and you don't make it anything public. You just click on it. You select a user and you provide their email ID. For me, I am providing my email ID. Okay, I will provide my respective email ID. And what kind of access I wanted to provide it, reader or owner. You just select it and click on save. Okay, so that is how you are going to do it maybe tomorrow in the company. Okay, so individual object access you are going to provide it to your team members. Okay, so this is what is it. For only this will be applicable to only this object. If you wanted to provide access to one more, you have to go to the one more object. So that is how you can able to do it. Okay, and this is the reason we have tested two things. One is retention policy we have tested, and bucket level permissions also, sorry, object level permissions also selected. So what about the bucket level permissions, sir? We can also select bucket level permissions. So if you wanted to select a bucket level permissions, you have to be at the top level, that is bucket level, and go to the permissions and click on grant access. You assign the all users. If you wanted to make all users, you can mention all users, and you can select cloud storage object viewer. So cloud storage object viewer for all the users, I am providing access as a object viewer. Storage, cloud storage object viewer. Click on save. Okay, once you click on save, that means this this bucket is public now. This bucket become public now. Now, if I provide this link, you will be able to access this also. Okay. Sorry, what's happening? Okay, so that is how I'm going to provide you this link as well. You can check it out. So this way we can provide access to, instead of all users, tomorrow what you will do? You will just enter your email IDs of your colleagues, right? So your team members. So that's what you will do maybe tomorrow. Okay. So this is how we have we have created a bucket with a proper access control, and also we have protected the data using the retention policy of 180 seconds. So this is the reason, this is how we are going to create a bucket and store the objects. Okay. Any questions? So we have created a bucket using the console. Tomorrow I will tell you. Tomorrow I will tell you using Cloud Shell. Okay, so that is our agenda for tomorrow. Okay, if you guys have any questions, you can ask me now. Yes, Nagaraj. Hello. What do you mean by this one? When you select a multi-region. Okay. Correct. Correct. Yes. Yes. Journal replication will be there. No, all the zones. All the zones. Multiple zones will be there. Okay. So when you're storing a data in single region, the whatever the zones that are there, right? The data will be replicated among multiple zones, but not regions. Yes. Yeah. Okay. A Terraform is the infrastructure provisioning, infrastructure as a code. So when you wanted to provide your create your resources, you can actually use Terraform. Okay, Terraform is the infrastructure as a code. So when you wanted to create your infrastructure using a code, so then you can go for Terraform. No, 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 no. It's not a Google sponsor. See, it's a Terraform is a open source tool or a open source. That's it. It's a open source code. We can say source code. So you can use. So you can install on Google. You can install on AWS, Azure, or local. Also, you can able to provision your resources. Yeah. Any other questions, anyone? Okay. I think we are good for the day. Hope you got the point. And let us see tomorrow how we can create a bucket using the Cloud Shell. All right. Okay, guys. Bye bye. Thank you. Have a great day.